Good afternoon, everyone. This is Linda Criticus from Your Nurse Advocate Consulting with an informational video in regards to our lovely summer weather that we're having all across the nation, actually. I want to focus on today heat emergencies and essentially how they affect our elder population and people with chronic illnesses. So one of the things that you have to look at when you have a heat emergency is that how will this affect us and how can I protect the people that I care about and love, especially my aging parents or loved ones that have chronic illnesses that may or may not be receptive or may not feel the need to do anything different during these types of heat emergencies when the temperature climbs into the mid 90s with high dew points and or high humidities. One of the first things that we've done at Your Nurse Advocate Consulting is put together a checklist that you can utilize when you do a wellness check or a daily or twice daily check. And that could be through a phone call or a text if you so choose. In regards to your aging parents or your loved one who may have a chronic illness and may be living alone and not have anyone to help them in regards to making sure that they're okay in this type of weather. It's really important that we keep an eye on or observe or keep track of how our aging parents and how our significant others or loved ones are dealing with these heat emergencies so that they don't end up in the hospital. Heat emergencies can result in individuals going to the emergency room, being admitted, and if they're severe enough, they can become unresponsive and heat emergencies can cause death. So one of the things that we have on our checklist, and I'm just going to kind of run through it, and you'll be able to get it from our, as attachment to our video, is if your aging parent or your significant other has air conditioning, is the air conditioning on? A lot of times our aging parents don't necessarily always feel the need for air conditioning. A lot of times they feel, oh, it's too expensive. I've gone years without it. I don't need it. And besides, I'm always cold. So it doesn't matter what it's out there. I'm always cold. But yet the temperature in their home could be 88 or 90. But because of their disease process or medications that they're on, or because they may have a disease such as dementia, it may not trigger their brain to say, I'm hot and we need to cool down and we need to take protective measures to keep safe. So it's up to us to make sure that they have the tools that they need to keep themselves safe, especially if they live alone. So one of the things you're going to be checking on is, do they have the air conditioning on? They may not want it at a temperature of 70, 72, or 74, but if you even have the temperature at 76 or 78 and the fan is circulating the air, it will remain cool enough in there so it keeps them at a temperature that keeps them safe so that they don't end up with some heat-related illness, such as dehydration and or worse things such as confusion and or hospitalization. If for some reason they're in an environment where they don't have air conditioning, then do they have fans on? Are the fans there circulating the air? And do they have the blinds closed and the curtains closed? And do they have air circulating in there? One of the biggest issues that we face or that we see as healthcare providers for people who are aging and people with chronic illnesses is when they have a disease called chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. Humidity and high temperatures can exacerbate those symptoms. Also, people with diabetes, cardiac issues such as CHF, and or other chronic diseases such as MS, Parkinson's, even ALS. So anytime an individual has any type of chronic illness, a lot of times heat or extreme heat can exacerbate their symptoms and cause them to become ill or exacerbate their shortness of breath or make them more fatigued, more tired, and could cause greater stressors on their organs. So you want to make sure that they're in the right temperature. If for some reason they do not have air conditioning and they do not have fans, then they need to be taken to a cooling center or somewhere where they can stay cool or get cool so they don't end up getting dehydrated and end up getting sick. So whether that means going to a relative's house, a friend's house, being transported to somewhere where they can stay until the temperature comes down, both in the environment and also in their home, because their home becomes what they call a heat island. And you can't cool it down enough because it's a structure, the temperature can stay very even late evening. So we need to get your measures to keep them. So if they don't have air conditioning, you are making sure that they're in an environment where they can be safe and they can keep cool. Also, if they do have air conditioning and whether they have fans or not, you want to make sure that they're dressed appropriately. Are they wearing looser, lighter clothing? In this type of weather, we don't want to dress in layers and we don't want to dress in darker colors because that keeps the heat in. Those are more appropriate for winter or colder temperatures. In the summer, clothing should be looser fitting, should be lighter in color, so it actually allows you to stay cooler in your environment. So they should be wearing clothing that meets those needs for that temperature. Drinking fluids is also really important, but not things like coffee and tea. Anything that has caffeine in it should be avoided. They should be drinking things like water, or maybe if they don't like water, infused water or juices, something that has gives them the hydration but doesn't add caffeine, because caffeine, just like alcohol, can dehydrate you. So whereas somebody will say, well, I love to have a beer in this hot temperature, that's great, but it also will dehydrate you. And when we're looking at our elder parents, our aging parents, or people with chronic illnesses, that may not be the best choice in order to keep them hydrated. So things such as water with flavoring in it, plain water with a lot of ice, and then drinking 8 ounces of water, every few hours, so they could end up at the end of the day with around 64 ounces of fluid in, will keep them hydrated and keep them feeling better and not getting dehydrated. Wearing appropriate sunscreen is also really important. Sunscreen of an SPF 30 is really important for people who are aging and also have chronic illnesses, because their skin may be more sensitive to sunlight. Also, if they're on certain medications, sunlight can actually cause them to burn a lot more easily. So you need to make sure that you are monitoring the medications that you're on or that your elder adults are on in regards to their illnesses or disease processes, because some of those medications can have actual effects and increase the burning ratio to the skin. So please know that and monitor that prior to going out in the sunlight. When they go out, as we all should, is we shouldn't really be out during the hottest part of the day, which they consider between the hours of 12 and 4 p.m. So going out earlier in the morning when the temperatures are cooler, and going out later in the afternoon into the evening when the temperatures are cooler are more appropriate. Yes, you still need to wear looser clothing. Yes, you still should wear a hat on your head to keep the rays of the sun from your face. You still should be wearing sunglasses to protect your eyes. But yes, you still should be wearing sunscreen also. Even though you're going out earlier in the morning or later in the day, the sun's rays still have an effect on us. Also, know where your heat shelters are, or what they call cooling shelters or cooling centers. If for some reason the power goes out in your house or in an area where you get a lot of brownouts or blackouts, please know where those cooling shelters are, and please make sure that you know what your plan B is, especially if you're an individual who is utilizing oxygen and needs continuous oxygen for disease process such as COPD or heart disease. If your power goes out, know how much backup oxygen you have on your tanks until power can be restored, or where you can go to make sure that you can get your oxygen concentrator plugged in so that you can maintain your oxygen levels at a safe range. So always know what that plan B is for when the power goes out, especially now when There's so many people utilizing their air conditioning. Brownouts and blackouts are pretty common, and they may only last a few minutes. They may last a few hours, but someone with COPD or CHF, that could be like a lifetime to someone if they can't get switched over to a tank very quickly. So please be aware of those things as you come up with your summertime plan or your emergency plan as you work with your aging adult or significant other regarding these disease processes and these heat emergencies. If for some reason your cooling shelters are not close by, public places such as the library, an indoor mall, or some type of indoor community place would be also appropriate to go there to sit and cool down and drink some water and until the temperature goes down or until you feel better. Also, if you are out in the sunlight and you don't feel good, you need to come out of the sun as soon as possible. And or if you're close to a place that is a cooling shelter or a store or a library, go in there to cool down. You need to get your temperature down and you need to drink fluids. A lot of times when you start feeling fatigued or you start feeling like you have a headache or you don't feel good, that's your body telling you that you've had too much sun and you've had too much heat and your body is not able to cool you down quick enough to keep you feeling good. So you need to make sure that you have some place in mind to go to in case you're not feeling good. One of the most important things is to understand those symptoms of heat illnesses. They can start out initially very subtly, just as a mild headache. And sometimes it leads into nausea and or vomiting. And your skin is usually very warm to touch, or sometimes it's even sunburned. And then you really know you've had way too much sun. You could become very fatigued. More severe symptoms lead to confusion and unresponsiveness. So if you have or are experiencing any of those symptoms, you need to contact your health provider as soon as possible or immediately to get help, and or go to the closest emergency department to get help. We want to keep you safe. So this is your Nurse Advocate Consulting signing off. We'll see you again in our next video. Please stay safe, have fun in the sun, but keep yourself protected. Protect your skin. It's the largest organ on your body, and it's the only one we got. So with that, have a great day, and I will talk to you with our next video. Thank you.